when that job applicant comes in, we treat that with as much or more urgency than a potential new client. That's the biggest mistake businesses make. They chase that one more client instead of chasing that one A player. That A player is going to make you millions of dollars. That one client is going to make you a set amount.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Today, we have the pleasure of having Mark Real from Real Fighters Rights. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm good, Armand. How are you doing today?
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We were just talking about the background and how amazing it looks, and it's actually real. So, a lot of thought came into this, into that background for sure. Mark, thank you so much for coming. So, listen, what we do here is just break down a little bit of your story, starting the company and the growth and the lessons that we all could learn from. So, why don't you take me to the beginning and how did it start? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely. So, my story, I guess my origin story, Phoenix rising from the ashes, is COVID-19. So in 2020, I was a fitness executive, young, climbing up the ladder in the fitness industry. I'd graduated law school a few years earlier, and everything got stopped by COVID. Shut down. I'm working in Los Angeles County. Everything gets shut down. Nothing's going on anymore. And I'm sitting there. And for the first shutdown, it was about 3 months. I was just consuming all kinds of information, trying to get better. Finally, we go back to work later in the year. After 23 days, a second COVID shutdown hits. And I'm sitting at my apartment in Glendale, California. And I'm like, what is my next challenge? So on a whim, I decided to go take the bar exam. I'd graduated law school a little over 3 years prior to that, but I'd completely dropped being a lawyer, practicing law, anything after I had graduated. So on about 8 weeks notice, I take the bar exam, I pass. And that's how I became a lawyer. So without COVID-19, I don't become a lawyer. Now, the other side of the story is we run a firm that focuses exclusively on representing men and fathers. I have 7-year-old twins, and when they were born in 2017, I actually had to fight for them in family court. And going through that process, I realized men needed something different. They needed to be represented differently. They needed someone to do things differently than the traditional family law firm did. And so that's where Real Fathers Rights came from. This is what I would have needed in 2017, going through my initial stages of my custody battle. And I want to be able to provide that to as many men as possible.
Wow, very powerful. Um, you made a video somewhat recently of like you guys are taking over more office space, like the thing is growing rapidly, let's just say. But once you were, like maybe one employee, and then tell me how that all started and how it grew from there.
Yeah, definitely. So we actually just yesterday I was down in San Diego and we looked at about a 12,000 square foot space. We're actually should be today or tomorrow signing a letter of intent on it. Take us over about 50,000 square feet of office space. But back in 2021, when I started the firm, I didn't even have a virtual office. I didn't have the money for any of that. I actually founded Real Fathers Rights. It was me, myself, and I out of my bedroom of my 1 bedroom apartment in Corona, California. So just 3.5, closing in on 4 years ago, it was just me. I was the attorney, I was the paralegal, I was the salesperson, I was the billing specialist. I did anything and everything. And I actually did that for about 9 months. In the first 9 months, the only person I hired my mother and she posted videos on social media because we were really social based. We were very internet based. So it was me. And then after about 3-4 months, we had a little bit of success. It was me and my mom. And then at the 9 month mark, I finally broke through and had, you could say, the courage to sign a lease for a big office space. It was 3,000 square feet. The office I'm sitting in now is on the bottom floor of where that office was. It's 22,000 square feet. So took the leap, signed for 3,000 square feet, started hiring employees that were not my mother. And for the last 3 years, it's been nonstop since we figured out what works.
Amazing. And what's the number today? And because I guess you're signing more office space, what's the number today? And then what are you projecting, I guess, for 2025?
Yeah,
Well,
so we
employees wise.
are Yeah, so in terms of team numbers, right now we are at 89 team members. We do have 3 or 4 offers that are accepted for people that are going to start between now and the first week of January. We'll probably in January or February clear 100 team members. And how big will it go? Where will we go? I mean, our purpose, when I started the firm, I had a goal that I wanted to do $100 million in annual revenue in the year 2030. So essentially 10 years after I started my firm, in year 10, I wanted to do $100 million. And that was just pie in the sky. It was a nice round number. Over the years, we've really broken that down in what we need to do. And the goal today is we want to help by December 31st of 2030. We want to help 33,570 men navigate the family court system. So what does that mean? It means probably market expansion. Luckily, in the state of California, I have 9 of the 50 biggest cities in the U.S. We also have some interesting markets that we do a lot of work in already: Phoenix and Vegas and Seattle. So we'll see some expansion. We'll close this year at about $14 million, and the goal in 2025 is probably going to be around that $25 million mark. So we'll probably see we're getting more efficient. So we'll probably be 150 to 170 full-time team members this time next year.
Amazing. And I think you said 89 when you and I talked in person in June. I think you were at 80 or something.
Yeah.
And I think in November, like, and tell me if I'm wrong, because maybe my memory. And then, like, when we first talked, when we first met, that was back in November 2023. You should have been at 60 something. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's ballpark accurate. It's a number it's crazy to say, and I love every single person that comes in every single day and puts in work at RFR. I'm not involved in any of the hiring. I get a message on the first day or the day before they start saying, "Hey, we're going to have a new team member here." So I'm aware of it when I go to that office, when I do that next office visit. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like I said, I mean, you think about it, it's crazy to look back on that it was me, myself, and I, June 6, 2021. We're sitting here in November of 2024, a little over 3 years later, and there's nearly 100 people working. So yeah, it was probably 40, 50 people. I mean, we're at 21 attorneys now. So from 1 person to 21 attorneys, full support staff, full marketing department, full intake team, client success, billing, all of that stuff. So it's really cool to be sitting here today, and it's like we have a fully built out organization.
100%, 100%. And let's dive into it. I wanted to give people context because, like, hey, since I knew you, like, the growth has been there. We were able to witness it. It's amazing. Mark, let's talk about the why behind all that. I mean, it's just 3, 4 years, only 3, 4 years, and you're closing in on 100 people. What do you think sets you guys apart from all these other law firms? Why did you guys grow so quickly?
Yeah, I think from a core values perspective, there is a why, and it's not just me. That has personal experience with it. We have numerous attorneys who had poor relationships with their dad and found out it was because of their mother, or people who have struggled in family court in their own situations. There really is a core mission, a core value that probably 90+% of the people in our organization have either been through or been impacted by. So we have this deep seated why as to what we do day in and day out. A lot of people are like, "Hey, Mark, like a business perspective, you should just start a firm that does women." And I was like, we wouldn't have that same why, that same central focus of our business, because what women need and what women go through during divorce, custody proceedings is just fundamentally different from men. Then the business side is just about action. I tell people, it's like, I love the game of business. I don't really have too many other hobbies. This is what I do day in and day out, 7 days a week. Like I wake up, my feet hit the floor, and I'm on fire to build a better business. And so we fail more than the average business try. We fail more in probably a week than the average business tries in a year. And so there's this insatiable desire for growth. They're at the root and core of what we do. There's something that's just very, very important, not just to us, but to society at large. So we have the why, and then we have the desire to make as much impact as we possibly can. And we've been able to acquire talent and people that have that same drive that's just insatiable in terms of the impact we're going to create.
Wow, amazing. Such a great response. People, people extremely aligned, right? Like if people listening think about what Mark is saying is I've been directly impacted by a divorce, a family separation situation. Like there's very few things that like affect you that deeply.
Yeah.
That then like you're like, okay, now you're helping like probably your employees feel like superheroes every day, right? And then that's huge. Like that's
Yeah.
huge. Like how many people listening, how many business owners that you and I know, Mark, their employees, their CEO feels like they're freaking saving the world every day.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is we get our clients come to us at the worst time in their life. And we get to help them navigate through that and get to the next chapter of their life in the most positive way possible. And we really have assembled the Avengers of teams to be able to do that, from our intake team that is absolutely phenomenal at being empathetic and finding what solution that the individual actually needs, to our legal team where we have over 300 years of experience. There's not in Southern California, there's not a better legal team than we have here at RFR. And then you go to like the client success team, like something that's unique in the legal space. It's not unique in business, but it's unique in the legal space of like we have a client success department. So they're hearing from us, and it's not their attorney who's going to be billing them. It's like, hey, how are you doing? What can we do for you today? So to be able to assemble really a support system, like a done for you support system for these men that are a lot of times at the lowest point in their life, it's very empowering that we get to do that every day.
I love that. I love that. Uh, I typically digging into the why of the person, but I don't feel like, in this podcast, but I don't feel like we have to do that here. It's very clear. You went through it. You just want to save, help people in that deep and extremely hard period in their lives. So like, and everybody's like extremely moved. It's amazing. I just want to say, I want to just get people now to think, what is that mission for you guys? You know,
Yeah.
how do you think people should go about finding that for their own companies, Mark?
I mean, here's the piece of it. It's two pronged, and sometimes it's hard to kind of mesh these two together. So number one is you have the why. You have this very altruistic view of what you're doing and helping people. And that side of it is like, hey, we're providing legal services. We're helping people navigate through this. We are changing families for generations with what we are doing. Then there's the other side, and the other side is business. At the end of the day, we still are a business. And so marrying those two of like to make the impact we want to make that massive impact, to change society, to change generations of families, we have to run a really, really good business. So I think that a lot of people, you get stuck on this like black and white. We live in a Twitter world. We live in the 240 characters. Like you got to be able to say it quick, but it's like there's two pieces to it. There's something you're passionate about. There is a problem you want to fix. There is someone you want to help. And at the same time, you have to be able to run a really, really, really good business to ultimately have the impact. Because if I didn't bill people and we just did this for free, well, it would be me still in that 1 bedroom apartment, and there would be just minimal impact. So I think that I'm someone, and this is kind of a controversial, I don't have a really strong opinion on it, but a lot of people are like, do what you're passionate about. I think that to be great, to find your true greatness, you have to be doing something that you wake up and you're excited to do every single day. If you're doing something and you can't wait for the weekend or you can't wait for your vacation, like I drive my fiance, my family crazy. Like, I don't need vacations. I don't need days off. Like, I wake up every single morning and I'm on fire to do what we do. And in my role now, do I talk to clients? Do I deal directly with clients anymore? No. But every single day, I get to strategize, to work through how we can make a bigger impact or how we can, I mean, I'll tell you this, one of the most exciting things before we started recording here, the election was a few days ago. And one of the most exciting pieces of the election for me is I now have a good friend who is going to have a job in the White House on their family committee. So the equal and shared parenting community is going to have someone in the White House that's going to be helping shape policies. And we've donated thousands of dollars to this guy. So we have 31 bills across the United States for equal and shared parenting. And for the listeners, equal and shared parenting is a presumption of 50-50 custody upon divorce or separation. So in the US right now, only 5 of the 50 states have equal and shared parenting. Well, in 2025, this individual has gotten 31 bills are going to be introduced in state congresses to change this. Like, that's the work I get to do. It's like, it's not one-to-one anymore. This is generational. This is societal. This will change the fabric of our country and maybe even beyond that.
Oh man, I love this so much. I'm so glad we're talking about this, Mark. Seriously. So you're changing the law. You're changing the law, right? Like sounds funny, but it's like, holy shit, now we're changing the law. Like, okay, real father's rights, helps, I don't know, this many just parents a year through their direct impact, and their indirect impact is like you said, how many states? 30 plus states?
Yeah, so there'll be 31 states this year. We're working on a few Hail Marys to get some bills introduced in a few states, but there'll be 31 bills in the United States of America this year that get introduced in assemblies and congresses and senates that are pushing for equal and shared parenting.
And so again, so you whatever people you deal with, plus like 30 plus states where you don't have to do anything just because you passed a bill now, like all these parents, all these fathers in this specific case, now
Yep.
have at least by law more of a fighting chance. So like, man, that's huge, Mark. I didn't know that. That's like next level shit. That's
Well, I mean,
crazy.
and here's the deal too for business owners. Like, even if you're doing something, like, let's just say, like, I know a lot of really, really good humans who run businesses that are not necessarily in like something that's emotionally charged, something that's so purpose driven. Like, we'll just say, like, a contractor, and you build houses, and yeah, you're building people's dream houses. You're providing a great service. You're providing something that's needed. You may not have as maybe a direct mind, there's a very direct tie. But if you're able to run a really strong business, why do we have 31 bills in state houses this year? Well, one of the reasons is that I'm able to run a really, really strong business. And then I'm able to give money and resources and time to people that can go make these things happen. So it's like, even if you're running a business, if you're in marketing or you're in construction or whatever it may be, if you're able to run a really, really strong business, you're going to be able to give to these causes. You're going to be able to make impacts. And that may come in a form of like, hey, if you build houses, like, okay, that may come in a form of like you help Habitat for Humanity, or you do something along those lines, or it may be something totally and completely unrelated. But it's like, the running a good business and building a great company gives you the power. Like, all of these people who just donated tens of millions of dollars to, I think it was $1.3 billion was spent on the presidential election. All those people that donated great, like huge money to that, are running really, really strong businesses. So they're able to donate and help impact the things they really care about.
I love that. I love that. I think a lot of us need to start thinking about that as well. It's the building the great company. I think it's such an important thing. I think the level of impact, this motivates me more. And since you and I align with like giving back, right? I think anybody that really their ultimate mission is to give back, well, the bigger the company, the bigger the operation, the more efficient, the better, the greater that, like what you're saying is it just directly proportionally helps whatever causes you want to do because you're more powerful to do whatever you want to do with them, right?
I mean, ultimately, it's inspire and impact. So, I mean, it could be inspiring and impacting team members. I mean, like I said, I have 89 full-time team members. It could be impacting their lives in a positive way. For example, we have a team of people that are in the Philippines where like their rights and stuff are not really protected. There's not strong protections for workers. And one of our best team members in the entire organization, she was having a baby and she requested 3 days off. And I immediately went to the manager and I was like, no, we give everyone 1 month of paid time off, parental leave, male, female, first child, 14th child, it doesn't matter. You get that. But it's like, that's something that now that's a mom, that's a family that got to be together and not worry about money for a month after they just had their second child. So, and then it goes outside. Like we see a lot of this on social media, how many people that are inspiring generations through like, hey, what they're achieving, what they're doing. It could be through worldly possessions. It could be through the work and the money that they're giving. So, I mean, it's just for me, everything I do, I view it as I want to be. I have a son, I have a daughter. My goddaughter's actually with me in the office today. But I want like my nieces, my nephews, my kids, like for my sons and my nephews, like I want to be the person that I want them to be. And for my daughter, for my nieces, like I want to be the guy that I want them to marry. And so it's like it even goes that deep for me. So it's like, hey, it's team, it's family, it's the people around you. But it's like it's so cool now with social media, we have the ability to inspire even larger groups. I mean, we have millions of views on social media. I mean, we may never talk to those dads, we may never see those dads, but we have millions upon millions of views of just giving people value, and maybe it gets them to, hey, I'm gonna try one more time to get this custody. I'm gonna file one more request. Hey, I got this one more day of trial in me physically and mentally. Just anybody and everybody that comes in contact, like you have the ability to inspire and impact and really change the course of their life.
Wow. So amazing, so amazing. And especially, I mean, I think people know, especially knowing, I don't think we need to lecture our people with like how important a father is in the life of the kids, right? It's like, it's absolutely, it's like one parent you change, they hear something on social media. It's amazing. I was also thinking maybe creating like a free academy for parents. Maybe you're already doing it. But Mark, one thing that you said is like building a great company. And one of the components was like the why and why the core values and everything. But let's talk about what else is required in your opinion to create a great company other than what we've talked about.
Yeah, and I think and this all ties in together. Like sometimes we get as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we get into the facts like when we have a really strong why, we almost feel dirty or slimy talking about the mechanics of how that happens. And you can't do any of these positive things unless you build that great company. So that may be, hey, in today's world, like marketing, it's like, hey, having great social media presence, having a great digital presence with a website, having great paid marketing, having great organic marketing, being involved in the community. Like you have to have that strong awareness factor. And then having a team, and every business is different, whether you're B2B, B2C, you're something that's very emotional, you're something that's very transactional. Having a great sales team that takes that lead and turns them into a client. And then having a team, really, I view both that it's really three components of business. Marketing, you generate the lead. Sales, you turn the lead into a client, and then service, you provide the good or service. That's the three components. Like when you break business down at its core, and every industry can be a little bit different, but it's acquire a lead, turn a lead into a client, and then deliver the good or service. And so understanding your industry, and I think innovating, I think there's a lot of industries, legal ones really bad about it, where there hasn't been a whole lot of innovation. One of the reasons that we've been so successful is we bring a Fortune 500 corporate structure into the legal industry that the trial attorney was the CEO and they spend 10 hours a week on CEO tasks, and the executive committee is all lawyers. Well, there's no marketers, there's no business people, there's no operators. It's just a bunch of lawyers who have never been trained doing it the way the generation before did it, that are doing it the way the generation before that did it. So getting more efficient, getting better at really, like, it's like if we were playing basketball, it's like, hey, we want to pass, we want to shoot, we want to play defense. So understanding your industry and building those efficiently, and trying to innovate where possible, because I honestly believe our generation is going to be the next generation that creates the next Microsofts, the next Apples, because we're the first generation that's really grown up with the tech. And if you look at, I don't know if you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. He talks about at one point in time before this .com bubble, before the Facebook and all that stuff, it was something like it was 7 or 8, I think it was, out of the 10 richest Americans were born within like a 5-year span, within a certain mileage of a college campus that had a computer. And there was this list of things. And these very specific things came together to create that next generation that forever changed the world. I think we are in that right now. We are the ones who, like, hey, early in elementary school, we got introduced to computers and keyboard and the internet and all this other stuff. And the generation before us wasn't born with that. They got it later in life. And then the generation after it, I mean, they'll probably be better with it, but our generation is going to be the one that innovates and really changes the world.
Yeah, Mark, I love talking to you because you're bringing so many perspectives. I'm always, and everybody, I encourage every listener to say, okay, how does this apply to me? How does Mark's company structure apply to me? And I think the question is to apply to ourselves is what has been historically a problem that lacks innovation in your industry, and then how are you going to be different? And so for you, it's what you just said, the corporate structure, it's lawyers and no infrastructure around them. It's just lawyers. For marketing agencies, I think they may be good at marketing, but then they don't have any other infrastructure other than that, which, the sales, all the other infrastructure needed.
Well, I'm similar. So you look at, so normally, and I have a lot of really good friends who are phenomenal marketers and service businesses as agencies. And so at its core, I'm very similar. Like, I am a marketer. I'm a marketer and a salesperson. That's my true impact. Like, I'm leaving this and going to a marketing meeting. The only department I'm involved in anywhere near the weeds is marketing, because that's my talent. That's what I need to be involved in for this to be a great company. Not in setting the ads up, but in the direction and the ideas and the creativity and the big picture strategy. But it's like, at the same time, it's like I have a COO that operates the business. And I'm not details person. I could be a B+ operator. I've did that in the fitness industry, but
Yeah.
that's not my special talent. So I went and found someone that is their special talent. He's phenomenal at setting direction, performance managing, holding people accountable. Like, he's looking at his feet all the time on how we can make the business better today. And then that allows me to go do things I'm great at. And so understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses. Like, I have 2 things. I am extremely competitive and I'm extremely strategic. If it doesn't involve those 2 skills, I need to find someone else to do it. And I think a lot of business owners, they will hang on for too long at stuff they're B and C players at, because they're just a little bit better than the person they would bring in because they care a little bit more. But in reality, you need to find the A player in that specific role, help drive your business forward.
It perfectly goes into one of my next questions, Mark, which is how do you identify those A players? Because it sounds like, I don't know if according to you, 50% of your staff is A players or 100, but it definitely has to be a high number because the organization keeps growing at a rapid rate. That wouldn't happen if it was like Mark is the genius and there's all these other people no, there's like all these A players that you've been hiring. So what do you think the key is to bringing those people in?
So I am the wrong person to ask this question. So my response is I'm a very gut person. And this is why I have to surround myself with people that are very process oriented. I will talk to someone for an hour and be like, I think they're the person. Now, I feel like I'm pretty good at that, but that's not a way to run a that's a small business that could be catastrophic. A big business, you can survive for a little while. We don't have all A players too. I think you need to, the way I look at it is you're going to have, and I'm studying Jack Welch. I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE, but he has a process that's basically, hey, the top 20%. When he ran GE, which was one of the most successful runs ever for a corporation of that size, the top 20% got promoted every year. The middle 70 stayed where they're at, and the bottom 10 got fired. Now, I don't look at it as stringent as that, and I don't think my organization's big enough to look at it that way. But you have A, B, and C players. You can't have C players. C players are the red flags. They need to go away as soon as you identify them as red flags. Don't try to fix them. Don't try to do anything. Get rid of them. And then your goal is to have enough A players, to find enough A players that they set the temperature in the room. I use an analogy that Ed Milet does. It's the thermostat thermometer. A players are the thermostat. They set the temperature in the room. B players, they're thermometers. They take the temperature in the room. So I need just enough A players to be able to set the temperature that the B players play up. And I remove the C players because the C players are the ones that are going to pull the B players down. So you remove the dead weight, you remove the people that are holding back your core values and holding back the quality of your work, whatever it may be, and then you acquire as many A players as possible, and you continue to challenge them. A players, and a lot of people they want to say they have these organizations full of A players. A players are the type of people you give a job to, even if it's outside of their scope. If you give a project to, and it's like, it's done and it's going to be done well. And so you just need enough of those people that pull the B players along to be more like A players. So I'm not going to sit here and say I have 89 A players. I don't. I mean, realistically, if we went, I probably have fewer than 20 A players. The people who get better on their own. I mean, our core values, one of them is you versus yesterday. Or maybe something along the lines of like be elite. So we have be elite, we have you versus yesterday, we have extreme ownership, we have be kind. So if they don't have these core values, be honest, our fifth core value. If they exhibit all 5 core values and they push things forward. So I think that he has a great organization, they're rapidly growing, they have 75 A players. I don't. I have 15. And they're strong enough to pull those B players, and we intentionally reject and create a culture that rejects C players.
Wow. I love that. I love that, Mark. I think as we're growing, we're at like 12, 11 people. It's very interesting to see how some of the A players make the B and C players, less comfortable. It's very interesting to see. Like, it's awesome to have those people. Where have you found those? Like, where? It's like, okay, I know he's an A player, but where do you find your A players? Where do you think? And then like people looking for them, where do you think they're hanging out? I mean, any tips? Because I think that's one of
They
my
got
biggest
jobs.
bottlenecks right now.
They got jobs. A players got jobs. So I look at it this way. So when a lead comes in, generally, if you have a lead come in for a potential new client and a job applicant come in, the lead gets a whole lot more effort and energy than that applicant does. In my organization, it is almost code red when a job applicant comes in. They are a higher, and we have different departments. We have an HR department that handles all this now. But when that job applicant comes in, we treat that with as much or more urgency than a potential new client. That's the biggest mistake businesses make. They chase that one more client instead of chasing that one A player. That A player is going to make you millions of dollars, that one client is going to make you a set amount. Like our average case value, we'll say for round number's sake, about $10,000. So that perfect fit client's going to make us $10,000. That A player employee is going to make us millions. And so intentional energy towards recruiting. Then number two, I would say, is the people you want have jobs. If someone's an A player, they are employed. Most cold applicants, they're looking for a job. And you're going to find unicorns. We found a few unicorns every once in a while, but the vast majority of people that we found, we went out and searched for. We utilized recruiters, or for all of our high priority roles, we have hit lists. So we come up with 10 people. So like attorneys is a really easy one to use. In each of our markets, we have a hit list of 7 to 10 attorneys that we would love to work for us. And we actively pursue them. Because if you're going to get like nobody's getting rid of an A player. Nobody's firing an A player. An A player is most likely getting whatever they want at the organization they're at now. Every once in a while, you'll find that unicorn, but you have to go out and you have to be intentional. And recruiting is going to take time. It's going to take effort, and it'll probably take money. And usually business owners give very little of all three of those in recruiting. They post a job and wait for applicants. No, we post a job and then we go make a hit list. We're on LinkedIn like, hey, who has the qualifications?
Wow.
I have a really good friend. His name's Bill Hauser. He runs SMB Team. It's one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. And they will draw out a job description, and they're a marketing agency for attorneys, and they also do coaching, so business and marketing coaching for attorneys. So it's really great business model. They coach and teach you about it, and then they also can help you do it. So, when they post a new job, especially like a high level executive job or a new initiative, they will put a checklist together. I remember talking to them probably about a year ago, and they needed a new director of coaching. And they put together what that director of coaching has to have done for them to be willing to hire. There were 5 people on the planet who met all of the qualifications. So Bill hands that to his director of recruiting and says, there's your list. Hire me one of them. And they went and got one, and he's a phenomenal human being. So, I mean, that's the level of intensity and intentionality you have to have around recruiting to find those A players.
Wow. Well, Mark, I mean, how many businesses, other than the one you mentioned, how many businesses are as obsessed with recruiting as that,
Yeah.
that you know of?
Not many. And I think that's the biggest difference. And you look at businesses that are successful, do that. I go back to my law school days, and anybody who is familiar at all, it's so the biggest, most established law firms on the planet, they all do big law. They all do on-campus recruiting. And it just so happens that the best firms are usually the ones who are most aggressive about talking to as many people, getting as many high quality candidates to have conversations with their team. So I think this will go across industries, because we do it with salespeople, we do it with marketing, we do this with everything. It's not just hey, we have a hit list of attorneys. It can happen with every single role. And it's like LinkedIn, you don't have to know people. Like you can go look like, hey, we want to do what, let's just say, insert big corporation, Google. Google has executed on a certain initiative. Well, one of our requirements is someone had to be a part of that execution. Like you can be as specific as that, and LinkedIn and Facebook and everything else, you can put together a list of people that you need to talk to. They're going to solve your problem.
I think this is amazing. I'm literally thinking, okay, like what is our list? Who do we have? Who do we not have? What do they have to do? What have they achieved at this point? And it's and like if you think about it, and like I guess my objection would be, oh, but that is gonna cost a lot. Well, it's gonna cost a lot, it's gonna make a lot, you know?
Think about how much
So
you spend on marketing to acquire a client. Like that's the thing that blows my mind is you spend your space is significantly harder to get back the initial investment if you're marketing digitally. A lot of marketing companies, you need 12 or 18 months of someone being a client to get back to even. There can be a long road on the marketing front to get back to even, but that one A player can decrease your churn by 5%, and all of a sudden is an extra $500,000 in your pocket. And I also think the biggest mistake, and you mentioned you're at a little over 10 employees. The biggest mistake I see from business owners of your size making is what you need now is not what you're going to need at 25, is not what you're going to need at 50 employees. What you need to get to $1 million is not going to get you to 5, is not going to get you to 10. And you see people who are A players in an organization. I remember when we were 10, 12 employees and you needed fixers. You need people that could do a little bit of everything, could stick their hand in, could just get shit done. And then as you get bigger, people get put in smaller and smaller boxes, more specialized. And those people who were A players at 10 employees all of a sudden become C players at 50 because their talent is being able to just solve problems and kind of get their hands dirty and everything. And then when you put them in a mid-sized business corporate environment where they have a box to play in, all of a sudden they're a C player. So that's where it's like you also can't get attached because you have to continue. You have a duty to the organization to continue to put the best people in positions. I have some entrepreneur friends who they say they treat it like it's a soccer team or it's a football team. Where, hey, if you're the quarterback and we find a better quarterback, like we're going to put the better quarterback in place. And when you get, you think about, right now you're supporting, there's 10 families that depend on you to sign a check every couple of weeks. And that duty only gets larger. And a lot of people, they want to stick with who got them there, but it's not the person who's going to best serve all of these families that you're supporting as an entrepreneur.
I was literally talking to my coach about this today, Mark. Yeah, it's you grow attached to people, but I don't know who said it. I think Ed was saying it the other day, but at some point it goes from you're helping them to they're taking advantage of you and the company by not performing to where they should be, right?
And it may not be a you or them thing. It may just be a time and a place thing. Because there are multiple people who, if you would have told me, we'll say about 3 years ago, we would have been at 10 people. If you'd have told me they were no longer with me and we were still growing at the pace we were, I'd have been confused. But there was probably a point around 60 employees where you started to realize, like, no, we just are no longer the perfect fit for this person. And they're no longer the perfect fit for this role. Or they're unhappy having peers, or they're unhappy being put in this box, and they're a unique talent. And I'm thinking of one person in particular. It's like, I wouldn't be here today without them. They were the fixer. They did everything. They could do everything. They were willing to do everything. And as we grew, they always felt like their role was getting chipped away at, when in reality, we were getting closer to a very stable corporate structure. They do not excel in that environment. They excel in the small startup, fix it, work hard, do what needs to be done environment. So it's like I'm doing them a disservice because they're unhappy with what they perceive as a more limited role, less impactful role. And it's not something that their true greatness can shine through in doing. So it's like, it's not one of those like, oh, it's me. It's not you, it's me. It's not one of those situations. It's like you've gotten to a different point where it doesn't work for anybody anymore. And you see people hold on and hang on for as long as possible, try to make it work, try to massage the situation. And when it comes to situations like that, I very rarely do you see it work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting situation. Do you believe that it could also have to be with their lack of growth as the company grew?
It can be. So I think that that's the response to that could be, I always use it's a very Twitter type response. Like, in short, yes, but there's just certain people who work better in startup, small environments. Their skill set, they're more of a generalist, In a small organization, you need more generalists. As your organization gets better, you have more specialists. So they may have the ability, like in a marketing situation, they may have the ability to do Google and Facebook and SEO, and they're a B player at all of those. And then they're great with clients and they can do some sales. But when you go from 10, where maybe your frontline manager needs to be that type of person, to 50, where that frontline person has multiple people who just do SEO and multiple people who just do Meta and multiple people who just do Google, and all these people are better than them, and they're not doing any sales anymore, and they're just doing managing. They may be that same title, they may be that same spot in the organization, but what's needed from that role has fundamentally changed. It's the same title, it's the same spot on the org chart, but what's needed in that role has fundamentally changed. And just like as entrepreneurs, we have to realize as we grow businesses where our unique greatness is. Is that in marketing? Is that in strategy? Is that in being an operator? There are really successful entrepreneurs who are the artists, who are the person who does the creating. It's the same thing with your managers. It's like, it's going to change, it's going to evolve, and it doesn't do anybody any justice. And these people can grow, these people can get better, but their unique talent is not what is needed in that role. And a lot of times what happens is they've had that manager title. Maybe that fixer is better as like an assistant manager, or like still involved in the frontline type of stuff. But then that's going to be a demotion. There's obviously going to be feelings around that. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's growth. I think that as you grow as an organization, and you're at a stage right now, like at 10, 12 employees, that's an exciting time, because there's going to be a lot of change between 10 and 20, 20 and 30 team members. Like, your life is going to change, and you're probably going to have some frontline team members or some frontline managers who no longer can manage when they actually have to be managers, not a manager producer. So I don't think it has anything to do with growth, in short. I think a lot of times it has to do with the role changes and evolves, and you have someone in it whose unique talent and gifts are not fit for that role.
Makes sense, Mark. Makes a lot of sense. The last question I have for you, this is like an absolute masterclass. I'm super, super grateful. The last question I have is, I mean, we've gone so deep and so detailed in so many like very, very relevant. Like, I think like if you listen to the other episodes, this was something that was missing. We talked about the deep, deep, deep values that you guys have. We talked about the A players, so many things that you don't typically hear in these other podcasts. Mark, what do you think? What else? Is there anything else you want to add to this amazing conversation today as we wrap up?
No, I think it's been a good conversation. I mean, my advice really to anyone, kind of to put a bow on anything, is that as an entrepreneur, you can't be afraid of failure. And your biggest gift, like, somebody looks at me, and it's weird when people talk about this. Like, I go to these conferences and people who I have no idea who they are know who I am, know my life story, know these things. If you're that person that's listening and you want to get to 100 team members, you want to get to 8-figure company, like, don't be afraid to fail. And then you're in a unique spot right now. You're in a unique spot that your effort can make a fundamental improvement in your business. When you get to a certain point, like if you're operating a speedboat, 10 employees, you're operating a speedboat. You can change, you can navigate. At the end of the day, if you
What
have
did you just call me?
you're in a speedboat.
You're right.
You're the Somali pirates. They got the little boat. They're agile. They're fast. They can make changes, and that's a strategic advantage. I'm out here on a cruise ship, and it's like it takes me 5 miles to make a 90-degree turn. So don't be afraid to take those chances, and understand as an entrepreneur that every single one of us that is, hey, we've cleared the 8 figures, we're doing these things, or we look at these people who I aspire to that are running 9-figure companies, billion-dollar companies, that in the beginning, there was a whole lot of effort. There was a whole lot of trial and error. And I mean, usually that's the difference between whether if you break through and you become a truly great organization, or you stay small the way you are. A lot of times it is just effort. It's effort in learning. It's effort in doing the work. It's effort in getting your hands dirty. So just keep grinding, and that's where the breaks come in.
I love that. Mark, absolutely thankful for you. It's been a blast. Where can people go and find more information about you and your company?
Yeah, definitely. So, all of my personal stuff where we talk about business, that type of stuff, is Mark Mark Real Reel Junior. Primarily on Instagram with that, and then for the firm, Father's Rights Attorney, and Real Father's Rights on all social medias.
And you got a book.
I do have a book. I have the Father's Rights Playbook, so you can go on Amazon, take a or buy that. I think I make like a penny a copy, so make me rich.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thanks so much.